Let's start here then. Park Station is the biggest intermodal transport hub on the continent, with over 150,000 people moving through it every day for various reasons, such as shopping, banking, work and travelling. It is home to bus operators and terminals, trains and adjacent to taxis and the Gautrain. SABC News anchor Ayanda Nyathi is at the Johannesburg Park Station in Gauteng for us. Ayanda, a very good morning to you. So, of course, already a busy morning there for you in Park Station. Just talk to us about what you're seeing, what people are telling you. I'm sure it is a hive of activity.
Yeah, hive of activity, busy as can be. Nyathi, we can use all of those descriptors. We're now at the Park Station taxi rank, and we thought we should perhaps begin here for you, because we know in a country like ours, given the socio-economic dynamics, a lot of people rely on this industry to get around on any time of the year, but especially this time where, of course, they'll be headed to finally rekindle with family, given the year we've had. I'm going to step out of shot just for 2 seconds for you, get you a sense of what we're able to see so far. A lot of people, of course, because this is long distance travel, are going to be carrying bags that they probably can't carry. There's a mattress also that we're able to show you there, because typically a lot of people use this moment, of course, to try refurbish or bolster whatever they have at home if they were lucky enough to garner any kind of savings. But you're absolutely right. I mean, Park Station is really known for being this, if you like, intermodal intersection. When you think about the different modes of transport, trains are here, taxis are here, buses are here. You spoke about banking services. The queues are snaking at the banks that are currently here, and that's over and above just the many other services that are being offered. It's an intersection, let's face it, that hadn't had sometimes the smoothest of reputations, but we're told from PRASA, who operates Park Station, that a big part of their own push over the past couple of months, perhaps even years, was to make this a place that's safe enough for people to feel comfortable to walk through. And I'll tell you, we've been here for a couple of hours now, and we've been able to walk through very comfortably, by the way. There are very clear signs of refurbishments that have taken place inside, and in fact, we'll show you all of that throughout the course of our broadcast. But let's begin by just understanding the state of preparedness from some of the officials that are here. And bringing our first guest, joining us now is Nyathi, who is the Gauteng traffic spokesperson, and is joining us here at the Park Station. And it is incredibly busy. You and I had to move multiple times just so we stay clear of the taxis. How ready are you feeling? Thousands of people said to be moving around from today.
Thank you very much, and good morning to the viewers for the opportunity. Yes, of course, we are expecting high traffic volumes on our major road leading into and outside our province. As you can see, it's fully packed here. Our responsibility is to ensure that all these people arrive alive to their various destinations, and that's why we are here in large numbers. Remember, for us, safety is very important. It doesn't matter, all categories of road user, whether you are a pedestrian, whether you are a motorist, whether you are a motorcyclist, we want to make sure that these people really arrive alive safely. So, and we want to appeal to our road users at large to say, utilize our public roads responsibly. So,
yeah. Yesterday, the Transport Minister actually spoke about 45% of the fatalities we've seen so far being pedestrians. How big a problem is that in Gauteng?
Well, I must say that the problem is very big in Gauteng, in the sense that we have got major freeways here, the likes of your N1 to Polokwane, N3 to Durban, to mention just a few, N17 Springs. The problem that we are compounded with is the situation where you have pedestrians wanting to cross freeways, hitchhikers on our freeways, which is not acceptable at all. And some other problem that we are having is alcohol abuse by the pedestrians. They go to places of leisure. We do not want to see them going to places of leisure where they are enjoying their alcohol, then the next moment they want to cross the road where it is unsafe to do so. And that's why we have thrown large number of law enforcement officials, our traffic officers, our traffic wardens, all role players are really on the ground to ensure that we remove pedestrians from our road where they are not supposed to be.
Yeah. The inner city, of course, is busy any time of the year. I imagine around this time it gets even more busy as people come here to Park Station. What's your approach as traffic police specifically to the inner city in Johannesburg?
Well, we're having a number of enforcement operations, I must say. As I've mentioned, that alcohol abuse is just one of the major contributory factors to our road traffic crashes. So In the inner city, we are having enforcement operations such as anti-drunken driving. We even go, all criminal elements that you might be thinking about. People, this is the opportunity for criminals to actually do their own things, like selling of drugs, all these things, illegal liquor outlets. So any form of criminality, we've made sure that we have put our law enforcement personnel in strategic areas to ensure that we apprehend any person who might be seen doing wrong things.
All right, and thanks very much indeed for speaking to us. Appreciate the time. So there you have it, just a quick take of how Gauteng traffic is responding to what's been taking place here over the past couple of weeks, quite frankly. In fact, Mr. Moremane had been with us for quite some time early this morning, and we've been able to speak off air, and he's mentioned to us essentially how they're very prepared for what is anticipated to be an uptake or an uptick in some of the traffic that's taking place here. Still a very big hive of activity where we're in. Let's bring in our next guest for you. Santaco's spokesperson is Rebecca Pala, who's also been here with us for much of the morning. She joins us now live. And Rebecca, great to see you again. Last time we spoke was a much more controlled environment in studio, and needless to say that it isn't the case here. What's just your general impression of how at least the operation here is running with some of your members?
Look, for us, it's a very exciting time in terms of the work that we do. You remember the last time you and I spoke, I said to you, we're on a recovery basis. And so when the taxi rank is buzzing like this, it means that there's hope, there's light at the end of the tunnel. So far, we're seeing so many of our operators, especially those that are working on the ground, being very busy. I was impressed. As soon as we walked in, they've got placards that literally speak to any commuter to say, if you want a taxi that's going to Eastern Cape, you want a taxi that's going to Limpopo, this is the way that you go. So we're happy also because there's a lot of law enforcement visibility. It tells us that law enforcement understands that it is a heightened time. Criminals are seeing an opportunity. The colleague you spoke to earlier was saying the same thing. So far we're quite happy. Business is doing well. We're not resting, obviously, but I mean, it comes with the job.
Yeah. You speak about business doing well. Often the focus has been the extent to which we're getting back to pre-COVID-19 numbers. Are you starting to see signs of that?
We are. It's slowly but surely, especially for the long distance operations. In any way, we expect it around this time. So it's getting to work very well. But obviously, the demand is also high. So we've had to also encourage most of the long distance associations to start working with those that work in the short distances, the local trips and them. Because you would imagine these drivers have been up since essentially December started. So we're doing that with them as well. They're getting assistance from those that work the local trips because the demand is a lot less. But yes, we think that after this, many of our operators would have recouped. But you would know the demand is much higher. Even also the extent to which they've suffered is a lot more. But at least it gives some sense of cushioning.
Yeah. Speaking of the operators, for better or for worse, people see taxis in particular ways in our country. And a big concern is typically around the roadworthiness of the vehicles. How much of a handle do you feel you have as Santaco, as an organization, in order to ensure people get to where they need to safely?
Look, this is a very thorny issue. You know that at some point there was a cartoonist who was even calling some of our taxis driving caskets, which was very disheartening. The reality is because finances are so hard and the taxi industry is at a high risk. So when you're paying a monthly installment for a minibus, you're paying something between 18 and 20,000 rand. So it's a lot of money. We had hoped that the taxi recapitalization program would come in handy with that allowance that they give for you to scrap an old car. But there are a number of issues that has still not been resolved in that particular regard. The timeline of the vehicles that really can be scrapped still ends at 2006. There are too many more cars that have come after that period that also need to be scrapped. That condition is still being discussed at that high level. So it's concerning, but there isn't much that can be done at the moment, because even when you encourage members to say buy new cars, they're telling you, but what do I have to do? There's so much that is required in terms of the finances. But even the amount of money that you get for the scrapping, it's just over 150,000 rand. rand. When you compare that to the monthly installment I've just spoken to you about for a new vehicle, it's incredibly difficult. But look, the Minister of Transport recently said that they are looking at varied ways in which they can de-risk the industry, inclusive of talking to the banks to say, how do we reduce this monthly installments? We've got hope, but I think we're just saying to everyone, look, we're not oblivious to the reality that some of our vehicles are not in a good state, but we're working hard alongside government and other relevant entities, inclusive of the private sector, banking to be precise, to get to some solution.
Sure, yeah, and our viewers will forgive us. Of course, people are crossing our shot as we're speaking. We are in a taxi rank. These things happen, so bear with us if you're watching. So what then becomes the message to passengers who are concerned, Rebecca? I mean, if I'm approaching a vehicle, I've got a long distance travel to somewhere like the Eastern Cape, and I'm genuinely worried about it, is there anything I can do?
Oh, absolutely. You can say you're not comfortable with the vehicle that's operating. I think we need to...
Right, we're just going to move out of shot because I am very close to a car that seems to... it literally touched me. So I think we're going to try move out of shot for you for a while as we continue our conversation with Rebecca. Forgive us again. This is what comes with being in a taxi rank. There are a lot of people moving around trying to make sure, of course, that they get to where they need to as quickly as they can. So we'll do our best to give you as stable a broadcast as we can as we continue speaking to Rebecca Patla, who is Santaco's spokesperson. We're still rehashing that discussion around what people really can do if they feel unsafe.
Look, if you feel unsafe, you can register your concerns, be it with the marshal next to you, be it with the taxi rank manager. If you still feel you're not satisfied, you can even escalate it to our call center where we can then address the matter. But with all of our long distance taxis, we can even do a walkabout after this. We've always strived that the cars need to be in good condition. So we're not necessarily saying because times are so hard, we're just going to ferry people in these cars that are in bad condition. I think we're just saying in instances where you find, especially with the local trips, that the cars are just not in a good state, understand that those are some of the challenges that are being faced. So you can register that discomfort without a doubt, and they will listen to you. But I mean, when you look at most of the cars, even the one that almost touched you, Ayanda, it's not as as bad as you would want. In fact, most of, especially the long distance operators, always strive to get even bigger cars so that people sit comfortably, their luggage is comfortably placed, and that they travel swiftly.
All right, Rebecca, let me keep you safe. Thank you very much for speaking to us. We appreciate the time. Of course, Rebecca Pala is Santaco spokesperson. We'll have many other opportunities, of course, to engage her, given the time of year we're in, and of course the reliance specifically on the sector there, where she's got members who are represented. She spoke a lot about some of the operators here and the extent to which I suppose they're doing their best to take care of their vehicles, for example, in order to reach those destinations. Let's bring one of them in if we can, if we're able to spot him in just a moment. One of the queue marshals who's been literally ferrying people around. So I'm going to bring you in Ubabu Cornelius Pasha, who's been working here for quite some time. Gupis, get pitizen. We should be all right. How prepared are you feeling about Batuba Fichileng Mona? Do you feel like you're able to handle the volumes of people who are here?
I think so far we are doing problems, but we are trying for Batuba Fichileng safe. Let's about Kenya taxi camo. As much as we are not busy, we can't control the situation, but we are trying for Batu so that the taxi can is at the end.
This side, yeah, so we can see you properly. You talk about some of the problems from traffic. I
mean, I think there's a lot of traffic, even local Kamo ranking. The problem they experience Sankore, Kamo ranking, Rekenamo KTN 1, Retamo KTN 1. That is the problem we are having every year. That's why Kobali trafficking at Kamo ranking, because they can't control that. I think it was better if Nabaita exit, Moken one taxi, the motor taxi, but now problem Rekena play K1, Retwa play K1, so we are trying our level best to the taxi can do.
And how estimate, roughly speaking, how Shebile so? How many taxis are passing through here, maybe even on a daily basis?
On a daily basis, approximately it can be plus minus 50. Plus minus 50, yeah.
Sure. Yeah, and certainly a lot of people. And I suppose part of what you have to do is to manage the crowd. I mean, some people can get very impatient. They want to get into the taxi first. But all of that can sometimes cause a bit of disruptions.
Yeah. O tshwanetse ba batlishe di-changes tse dife but re try we lwantsha ntho eo gore batho ba kene everything because we are overcrowded ka mo wa bona go na le taxi long distance Mozambique o na le Zimbabwe, Swaziland, Limpopo, KZN, so we are trying.
Is it easy to say gore line e busy the most thing? I know it's a difficult question, but from your experience.
From my experience, I think the most line busy ke Natal and those Zimbabwe, Mozambique. So le rona batho ba rona cause ba gopotse gae nka se ba kwale ka ntle le bona re a tseba gore ba batlo ya gae but problem re ba le yona ke ya batho ba yang ko mo Zimbabwe and ke bona ba tletsetlatseng kombi that's why all is on.
You know, in other places, I mean, work at KZN, for example, some of the operators mole have been worried about impounding tzadikoloi tsa bona because of tabayadi permit. Mo Gauteng, how much of a problem is that?
So far, mo Gauteng, we didn't experience that. Corona ba thomang go fa ba di koloi di permit now. So that's why sa bona gangata batho ba Gauteng ba sa tlhola ba tshwenya ke taba di permit. So I'm not sure about the other provinces, but Gauteng, no, I live in my taxis. Some of them must have about the total permit.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. There you have it. Cornelius Pasha, he is one of the queue marshals, I suppose, as part of the terms we use, who is literally trying to manage sometimes a completely unmanageable situation here at the taxi rank at Park Station. The sun seems to be coming out now and again, and I suppose what might complicate matters is if it ever rains here. I mean, I shudder at the thought of what might happen if we might need to take shelter, given the sheer volume of people who are here. That said, there are shelters being provided. I think, of course, the unique problem is that there are just so many people at any given time. We'll continue tracking developments for you. There is a very clear contingent of police officers who are present, who are also trying to manage the situation as best as they can. And I suppose so far, there isn't a bad story to tell. People are obviously trying to get home as quickly as they can to delve into the festivities of what December with the Z has to offer here in South Africa.